Last week, I showed you why your volleys don't have control and why it has nothing to do with punching or stepping or keeping a firm wrist. Dozens of you asked for the training that finally teaches touch, and today I'm gonna give it to you. Here's the good news. Touch is not some kind of talent that you're either born with or not. It's a skill that you can learn to transform your control around the net and the rest of your game too. Here's the roadmap for today. First, we're going to talk about the secret to touch. Then I'm going to give you phase 1, 2, and 3 to training touch and feel into your game. Let's dive right in. First, I need to address a huge misunderstanding. I saw this in the comments over and over again in my last video, and it has to do with this chart that I drew in my last video showing, trying to illustrate and explain that touch or feel is a huge spectrum, and it connects directly to hand firmness, which we're gonna uncover in just a second. But hand firmness, which is the same thing as touch, is not an on and off switch. It's not binary, and it's not all or nothing. It's a gigantic spectrum from very, very firm to very, very soft. And there are 4 factors that determine how relatively firm or how relatively soft your hand should be. And those factors are the speed of the incoming ball, your position on the court, how high you're making contact, and what your target is on the other side of the court. I thought I really nailed this in my last video, but there was a huge amount of confusion in the comments, so I just want to say this directly out loud before we get to the training, and that is, first of all, some volleys absolutely should be punched, and it's a small minority of all the volleys you'll hit. Some volleys should be hit with maximum softness in your hand, and that's going to be a small percentage of all the volleys you hit on the court. And most of the volleys that you hit during points and singles and doubles fall somewhere in between, and picking out the exact location on that big spectrum is the secret to touch. It is the secret to your success around the net, and with drop shots, and with lobs, and everything else that is related to touch or feel or control. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right into the training. Phase 1 of training touch is all about elevating what I like to call your hand IQ. How intelligent or how much relative feel you have in what your hand is doing right at the moment that the ball hits your racket. What's happening here in this drill is I'm demonstrating with another coach for a group of students that we just worked with in Hawaii, and I'm having my coach stand there with his racket in a forehand volley position, and I'm throwing the ball like a dart into his racket face at the same pace and in the same location over and over again. And in this first set of throws into his racket, I'm asking Coach John to keep his hand at a 5 out of 10. That means on that big spectrum from most firm all the way over to most soft, I'm asking him to squeeze his handle halfway up the spectrum, and nothing else is changing. I'm trying really hard to just give him the exact same force, and here's what I want you to watch. Watch how far back the racket gets pushed as the ball hits his racket, and watch how far the ball travels as it comes off his racket face. Okay, keep that. You have that picture in your mind of the 5 out of 10 reps. Now I've asked Coach John to increase the firmness of his hand up to an 8 out of 10. So most of the way up the scale. And watch the difference. His racket will not get pushed back as far, and on average, the ball now travels further back in the direction it came from. That's because when his hand is firmer, it restricts the movement of the racket, and more of the energy coming into the strings gets sent back again in the direction it came from. When his hand was relatively more relaxed at a 5 out of 10, the same force of the ball pushed the racket back further, absorbed more of the energy from the ball, and the ball on average did not travel as far off the racket. Are you seeing the correlation here? So the firmer the squeeze, the more energy off the racket. The looser the squeeze, the less energy off the racket. Okay, take a quick kind of snapshot in your head of what the racket did on the 8s and what the ball did on the 8s And now watch this. Coach John is now gonna squeeze at a 2. So barely holding on to the racket. A 1 would, well, I guess a 0 would essentially be like dropping the racket, like having the racket fall out of his hand. This is just 1 or 2 steps above that, and I'm throwing the racket with the same force, and look at the reaction of the racket. The racket's now getting pushed back dramatically further than the 5 and much more than the 8. And the ball, on average, look at how it's now falling shorter. That's because the looseness in John's hand makes the racket fall back away from the ball more aggressively, which removes energy from the ball, which creates a softer, weaker shot that doesn't travel as far off the racket face. So in phase 1 of your training, you can either literally do it like this, and you can trade with a friend, and each of you will take turns throwing the ball like a dart, like right into the middle of the racket face of your partner, while they experiment with the whole range. And we went and did this with our students, and we threw the ball at the same force. We had our students do a 5 squeeze, and then an 8, and then a 2, and then a 7, and just kind of play around and experiment while just holding the racket there. If you don't have a partner to do this with, use a ball machine. Have the ball machine feed the exact same shot. Stand there, line the racket up behind the incoming ball. Don't hit it, don't step, like don't swing, just hold the racket there. And you will be shocked to find out that when the ball hits the middle of your strings, even when your hand is very relaxed, the ball comes off the racket and goes over the net easily. You don't really have to do much of anything. But most importantly, experiment with the whole spectrum of firmness and see the cause and effect of how much further the ball goes when you're firmer and how much shorter the ball goes when you're more loose and relaxed with your hand. If this video has already been helpful, do me a favor and give the like button just a number 2 out of 10 tap. Don't have to smash it, don't have to destroy it, or just a number 2 tap. Thank you so much. It helps the video out a lot. Phase 2 of learning touch is going to be practicing with a target and a live ball coming towards you. So in this drill, there are 2 targets. There's a shorter target where the basket is a little bit short of the service line, and then there's a deeper target where the basket is close to the baseline. And the footage that you're seeing from a side angle right now is where I'm demonstrating for my student on the court on what it looks like to hit that short target. And I watch my racket. Look at how the racket is getting pushed back away from the point of contact. I'm continuing to smoothly move my racket out towards the target, but my hand is relaxed enough that as the ball gets to my racket face, I'm allowing the racket to get pushed back to take energy off the ball, and that's why the ball is landing short on the other side. Now look at how different the reaction of the racket is as I aim for the deep target. Keep in mind, my position has not changed. It's exactly the same. The speed of the incoming ball has not changed. It's exactly the same. And the height of contact has not changed. It stayed the same. But I'm getting the ball to go deeper, not by taking like twice as big of a swing to make the ball go twice as far, but by simply firming my hand so that the racket doesn't give and recoil nearly as much, and that sends more of the ball's energy that was sent towards me back in the direction it came from, and it creates a deeper shot. Now it's my student's turn to do the same thing, and she did an incredible job. She's only been a serious tennis player for a handful of years. She had never heard of this concept before, and I want you to look at how great of a job she did. From a side angle here right now, you're seeing the soft targets where she's going for the service line basket, and look at how the racket is getting pushed away from the point of contact. Same feed, she's standing in the same location I was, aiming for the same target I was, and just like me, her racket is getting pushed away when the ball hits her strings. And now watch the difference when she was aiming deep. The racket, if you watch it in slow motion, is still getting pushed back, but not nearly as much as the short targets. She hasn't changed anything else about her position or the incoming ball. She's simply firmed her hand and not allowed the racket to absorb as much energy, and so the ball travels deeper. Once you understand and practice the cause and effect relationship between the firmness of your hand and the location of your shot, you can literally pick any target on the court and hit it with a forehand volley or a backhand volley by Eventually, subconsciously, at first you're gonna have to think about this. You're gonna have to process it. You're gonna have to train it and practice it. But eventually, it's gonna be completely automatic as you calculate the incoming ball speed, the contact height, and how firm your hand needs to be in order to place the ball exactly where you want it to go, shot after shot. Phase 3 of your training is definitely the most fun. Although honestly, personally, I love my net game. So all of this is super fun for me, but this is definitely the most exciting. We're now playing competitive points, and this is my favorite way to train this. Me and Coach Colin on the other side are battling it out in a volley to volley exchange using half the court. Meaning I am covering this side of the court from the center line all the way over through the alley and then all the way back to the baseline. This whole half of the court is in for Coach Colin. And on the other side, he is covering from the center line back to the baseline and then across through the alley and then up to the net. So he is covering this whole half of the court. So if I hit a volley over here, it's out. So this kind of creates a little cage match where we're exchanging volleys down the line, volley to volley. So here's where the rubber meets the road. When this first volley comes into me, if I hit this ball too firm, it will pop up and give Coach Colin a high ball that then he can hit down towards me and attack and punch. But I'm gonna do everything in my power not to do that. Here's the tricky part though. If my hand is too soft and I absorb too much of the force of the incoming ball, the ball will end up landing well short of Colin, bounce up again, and then he'll have another different opportunity to pound the ball at me and hit it hard down at my feet. So the name of the game here is on every shot, identifying where are the feet of my opponent and then finding the exact amount of firmness with my hand to try to land the ball in that spot. If I'm too firm, the ball will go too high and too deep and make it easy for Colin. And if I'm too soft, the ball will go short and bounce up high and again make it too easy for Colin. And guess what? He's doing the exact same thing back to me. So this ball ended up being perfect. It came down to the feet of Colin, and now that makes it tough for him because he has to find just the right amount of touch to get the ball up over the net, but then have it fall again down low to me. And on this particular point, he squeezed too firm, and so the ball popped up and kept going up. And so now I have a volley that I can punch, and I don't have to be soft with that because I'm hitting it straight down towards Colin. He tries to reflex it back, but again, he's too firm. I get another high ball, and I'm able to hit it again firm down towards his feet. And now let's look at one where the tables turn. His first shot is placed okay, but not great. It's at waist height, and I need to try to find the right touch to get it down to his feet, but my hand is too firm. So I just traded a ball that was about waist height in exchange for a ball that was at shoulder height for Coach Colin. That's a really bad trade. When you're at the net, you want to avoid your opponents having the opportunity to hit directly at you. And this is more of like kind of a doubles, specific scenario. And I don't have time to get into, there's a million different drills we can do. If you're interested in singles drills, let me know in the comments down below. But this is very much kind of a doubles specific kind of training environment. But in doubles, when you exchange a waist height volley for a shoulder high volley, you will be losing lots and lots of points. And so now Colin is able to be firm with this and go directly through it and hit it straight down at my feet. And now I have the incredibly difficult task of receiving this very low, very fast shot and trying to absorb enough. So look at how my racket comes away from the ball as I make contact. I'm trying to absorb energy here, but I don't absorb enough. And it keeps going up, and Colin is able to spike this and put it away. Now you have all three phases of training, and I promise you, if you follow them, your touch, your feel, your precision will absolutely explode. If this was helpful, do me a favor and click the like button, and let me know what was most helpful in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching today. I'll talk to you again in the next video.